Welcome to the PSI podcast. This is episode 2,
Hello, I'm Bianca Rodriguez.
and I'm Kamyar Hedayat. Welcome back.
Yes, welcome back. Welcome back. Well, I thought what we might want to start with is do you want to give a quick paraphrase of what PSI is? I do think people will probably listen to episode 1 if they want to get a real good synopsis of it, but maybe just a snapshot.
Sure.
Okay.
So, personal self-integration is a method of gaining the skills of self-mastery to find a path to happiness, wholeness, joy, love, and everything you want to get out of your life. How it works is this. It's called self-integration because you have many different parts inside of you. And if you've ever said on the one hand this and on the one hand that, you know what it's like to have these different parts. When you're able to integrate these different parts where they can work together rather than working against each other, you're going to have more of your creative energy, more of your spiritual power, more of the focus you need to accomplish what you want in life and to be of service to humanity. And all these years that I've been doing personal self-integration, I kept asking myself, okay, why did Harvey call it personal self-integration? He could have just
Hmm.
called it self-integration. And it just hit me the other day as I was writing that it's called personal self-integration because only you yourself can do the integration. It's personal because me and you, Bianca, we're facilitators. We're like heart Sherpas, but we can only take you up the mountain if you want to go. We can introduce you to the techniques, but you're going to do them on your own, and you're going to go on this path of discovery, and
I
that's why
love
it's personal.
I love this, and I love that it's 30 years later, and someone like you that has been studying this, living this, teaching this, facilitating this, there's still more to uncover, even
Always.
just within the name.
Oh my gosh, there's so much to uncover. And I love that you use that word because I always tell people it's not about discovery, it's about uncovery. Because,
Mhm.
everything is there already. Past, present, future, everything you need to know, you know it. All we're doing is we're uncovering the veils
Mhm.
so we can see. Whenever people say something, and they give that shrug their shoulder or their eyes look up and then they say, I don't know. They know and they don't want to know what they know, you know?
We do
And
know.
so I love it when people say, I don't know, because it's such a great jumping off point to know and to uncover what it is you actually know.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to think about it like helping people to remember.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just think about what, I mean, literally remembering means to put the members or the parts back together to be whole.
Yes, I love this. I didn't even think of that.
It is literally remembering is reintegrating.
You've got the members and you're bringing them
Yeah.
back together.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I feel like there's just so many clues. And to me, it's the forgetting. As you know, we have this conversation often, that I continue to question the purpose of the forgetting. And then the remembering, and then the forgetting, and then the remembering, and then the forgetting. What
Well,
is
the
this dance?
distractions cause the forgetting.
Hmm.
And also living in the illusion that you've been taught and you've accepted as truth. So, if any of you have seen the Disney computer animated film Tangled, which is a retelling of Rapunzel.
No, I've not seen this. Okay.
Oh my gosh. I gave a 4-part lecture at the mosque about 15 years ago on the Sufi metaphors in that movie. And I cry every time I watch it. It is so profound but what I want to tell you, okay, so Rapunzel is in this tower, right? So she has the hair, and so in this telling of the story, her mother, the queen, was sick, and somebody found this flower that had a golden drop of the sun, and they harvested this flower and they made a remedy out of it, and then they gave it to the mother to drink, and it healed her, and it passed on a special power to Rapunzel. Because whoever like gazed upon the flower and smelled it and was in its presence would become rejuvenated and renewed. And
Hmm.
so there was a crone who lived in the forest named Mother Gothel, and she used to go visit that flower to turn back the clock of aging.
If we could find this flower, you and I would make a lot of. But okay, continuing.
Well, so when they harvested the flower, she lost access to it. And she knew that they took it into the kingdom into castle to give to the mother. And so when the baby was born, Mother Gothel snuck into the castle and tried to take a lock of Rapunzel's baby hair, hoping that that would pass on the same youth-giving properties. But as soon as you separated it from the life force, from source, it lost all its power. So obviously she did the no-brainer and she kidnapped the baby. So she kidnaps the baby and she builds a tower that's hidden somewhere in the forest. And she raises the child and tells Rapunzel that she's her mother and that this tower is not a prison, but it's meant to keep her safe from all the bad people who want her hair, where it's actually Mother Gothel who wants her hair.
Oh my goodness, this would be a long time in therapy to undo a lot
Right?
of damage to this story. Okay, okay, I'm
Okay.
listening.
And so now fast forward, it's a few days before Rapunzel's 18th birthday. And she says to her mother, Mother Gothel, because she does nothing but live in this tower. She's never gone outside. So Mother Gothel brings her books and she can read and learn. And she paints and bakes and sews and does all these arts and crafts and keeps herself busy. And she says, I've been charting the stars and I notice that they always have a specific pattern when it's my birthday. And so she says, I feel like there's something special about this day and about me. And Mother Gothel dismisses it and brushes it off. And, every single inch of the tower is painted. And when Rapunzel leaves the tower and she goes into town finally, she notices the emblem of the kingdom is a bright golden sun, and it's on a purple background. This is like divinity, right? And something happens where she's tricked and she is forced to go back to the tower by Mother Gothel, who's getting very old by now because she hasn't been exposed to Rapunzel's hair. And the man that she's fallen in love with is going to be executed.
Mm.
But she sacrifices her freedom, hoping that he'll stay free. And when she goes back to the tower after she's seen what she's seen, she holds up a little flag from the kingdom with the golden sun emblem on the purple background. And she realizes that in the negative space of everything that she was painting was the outline of that sun. And she knew all the time who she was. And she
Oh,
totally missed all the clues.
whoa.
This is all about PSI, man. When you leave the tower of your limiting beliefs and you
Yeah.
see the beauty of expanded consciousness, of living in love, of having a fuller expression of life, when you go back into your shell of fear, into your tower, you realize that all the clues of what were waiting for you were there the whole time. Like when I was a kid, I had two favorite songs from Disney movies. I don't know why, but they just really, I mean, I do know why now, but they really stuck with me. One was Bare Necessities from Jungle Book.
Okay.
You know that song?
bare necessities.
necessities.
The da da da. I
Yeah,
don't want
now
that part. Okay.
forget about your worries for a while. You see, this was a message to me because when I became a teenager, I became a really over and intellectualized,
Mm,
heavy thinker, and I was worried about everything and I had the weight of the world. But here is
mm.
this song from when I was 5, which was telling me, hey man, you don't need material trappings, don't worry about things, just float down the river of life. And then the other thing that was my favorite song was Chim Chimney, Chim
Yeah.
Chimney 3 from Mary Poppins. And I realized that actually my like male role model was Bert the Chimney Sweep
Huh.
because he lived a totally free life. Everybody
Mm.
saw him as being at the bottom of the, Victorian English society as a chimney sweep. But
Yes.
he literally saw himself at the top of life because he would climb the roof and he would have a beautiful view of the sunset and the sunrise. And there was like a brotherhood of chimney sweeps, and he had these magical powers, and he went in and out of different realms of existence. And that's why he was so happy.
Incredible. Incredible.
And he's climbing a ladder to
Literally.
progressively elevate himself and to, you see,
And
it
he's
was such
going through
clues
like
where,
the darkness, the soot, to
yes,
up and clearing it and seeing
yes.
the sky and the heavens and the sunset.
Yes, and it's like cleaning all the debris that covers the lifeline that
Mm,
connects soul to you. We
mhm,
need to clean that chimney and let
mhm.
all the light and all the love fully come in, and for your fire of life to burn and for you to express yourself. The clues are always there. You just need to think about what was I listening to as a kid? What games did I like to play? And you can just see your whole history played out and the answers you've been looking for before you went to kindergarten.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Is this why Animal was always my favorite Muppet? Because I'm
Yes,
destined to be a drummer. And
yes,
when I play, I am the animal drummer archetype. It's
yes. And
hair.
because Animal was completely wild, he didn't follow any conventions of nicety.
I was obsessed with Animal from the Muppets.
And do you want to tell folks how were you as a child? Were you a hellion?
No, you know what's funny
Oh,
is my mom has my has my kindergarten report card, and she read it to me and it said, Bianca can often be found alone, staring out the window, just at peace, just staring out the window, just curious and off in another land. And I'm like, yep, that sounds like me. It's either that or a animal from the Muppets.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think the expectations for you to be a good girl, to perform, you were
Mhm.
in ballet, right?
Yes.
What could be the furthest from playing the drums like The Who or, like
John
Animal,
Bonham,
right? Or like John
Jim
Bonham, right?
Baker.
Right. It's
Yes.
like, what could be further from that than ballet? Total control.
Yep. And that's what I went toward. And it
Yeah.
was funny because I remember my mom later on in life was she always thought I thought that was so strange that that's what you wanted to become was of all the types of dances you wanted to become a classical ballet dancer. And I feel like, right, that was my attempt to correct probably my animal nature in a world where I don't think I was okay to be animal.
Yeah.
To sit in a chair at school and pay attention and do everything in a linear way and yeah, it didn't feel acceptable. There weren't a lot of female drummers
No,
around.
no.
The clues are there. The
Yeah.
clues
They're
are
all
there.
there. They're all
Yeah.
there.
Hmm.
So actually, I love relating the inner cells to different uh, media and mass media and songs. I mean, I love it when people share songs with me. I'm like, oh, your mental judge self wants to tell you something.
Yes, I love
Oh,
when you do this.
yeah, or the male self or the female self. So before we went on air, you were talking about Outlander,
Yes, I'm
which,
late to the party, but I just started, and I'm so glad to know I have like 100 hours worth of episodes to watch.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Outlander is, I mean, it is so well written, so well researched, and it is so beautifully acted.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very intense.
Mm-hmm.
But we were talking about Jamie Fraser. So, yes, he is. So, if somebody hasn't seen Outlander, how, and because you're new to it, how
Yeah.
would you describe young Jamie?
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, we're not going to boast about his looks
Boast
because,
about it.
oh my, well,
Because
first of all,
looks, this the semiology, how you look, is
yeah,
communicating very deep biological and spiritual truths.
it is how you appear.
Absolutely.
But is
Absolutely.
that based on your biology, how you come out, or is it based on what
Yeah,
you
but
do?
your biology is related to your astromorphology and your astrology and qualities of character that you express out into the world. I mean, there's a total difference between someone who has a chiseled jaw and someone who has a long chin and
Mm-hmm.
somebody who has a broad nose or a ski jump nose or
Mm-hmm.
has eyebrows that touch or bushy eyebrows. They
Mm-hmm.
all say different things. Some things are about fertility. Actually, a lot of things are about fertility
Interesting.
and breeding. Yeah. But some are about other things. Like
Okay, we need to do a whole episode
the
just about
whole episode on
epigenetic.
that. Yeah.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
So it's not literally just genetics. There's actually some other
The
very
genetics
important
are
things in play.
before you're reincarnated, the genetics are selected to give you certain parameters to express the qualities you already have at a spiritual level.
Oh, I love when you drop new stuff in here. I get like I have to continue to speak, but I'm just mind blown. We have to continue for the life of the podcast, but oh my
So
God.
describe Jamie. How does he appear to you?
Okay, thank you for keeping us on track. Oh my God, Jamie is so handsome. He is just, yeah, we've got the chiseled jaw, we have strength, broad shoulders. He's tall, he's strong, but there's a softness in his eyes. And he's got that ginger, longish hair. I'm really a sucker for longish hair. There's on men, just love the look of that. And I mean, he's just beautiful. He's
And
just beautiful.
and you said you just saw the wedding scene where he marries Claire.
I did.
Yeah.
And I'm just,
And
wow.
he's a virgin,
I literally did. I just literally was not expecting that.
right?
I was like, this Adonis of a man is got this purity and
He's
innocence to him.
yes, he's
And
totally
it's,
virtuous.
yeah, it's so endearing. So, well, before we started recording, I was like, oh my God, Outlander, is Jamie the embodiment of the divine masculine? Because what I'm witnessing is in him is this power and this love together. He's a protector, but he's usually doing what's in the best interest of the group, of populations like women and children that might be more vulnerable. And yet he's also strong. And I feel like he would say the truth and set boundaries and be direct, not in an aggressive way, but in like a direct way. Is he it? Is this it? Is this the archetype? Put
Well,
it on my matching board.
so he is an embodiment of an aspect, I would say, of divine masculinity,
Okay.
to be sure. Just like we were talking about the owl and different aspects of wisdom.
Mm,
So, I mean, let's start with his physical form.
mm,
So, if any of you haven't seen this character, Jamie Fraser, he has a chiseled jaw. He has a nice, tall, strong forehead, beautiful,
mm,
thick, ginger hair. He has broad shoulders and he has a V-shaped torso.
mm,
And all of that together is expresses a lot of testosterone as opposed to
mm,
the hormone DHEA. So DHEA is like a bull in terms of its raw power, and
mhm,
it's also related to, let's say, being horny or being like really desiring of sex and power. That's a
mhm,
DHEA thing,
mhm.
and that's made in the adrenal gland. But testosterone is the true manager of the physical body. And in the mind, it represents a rarefied sense of logic, which means seeing things as they are and deciding how to manage it for the good of the entire body or the good of the entire clan or the entire nation. This is what the highest level of testosterone can do when it's properly expressed.
Mhm.
But how does testosterone manage to do this without becoming rigid or aggressive or having big D energy?
Yes.
Because there is an almost equal level of estrogen, which
Mm.
balances out the testosterone.
Mhm.
And that's when you get a man who's strong but tender, who's
Mhm.
a leader, but he leads from behind.
Mhm.
And because he is serving the highest good and he's willing to show by example to put his
Mhm.
own life at risk first, and if necessary, to sacrifice his own life for other people to live.
Mhm.
So that's what Jamie embodies.
And that's an aspect of the divine masculine.
Yeah, because there's an aspect of the divine masculine which is about, let's say, justice and fairness. So
Mhm.
listening without judgment,
Mhm.
controlling your passions, being fair even against your own interest. Because
Mhm.
one of the challenges that Jamie has as a character, the way that Diana Gabaldon wrote these characters is
Mhm.
they all have flaws. I mean, they all have very high virtues, but they also have flaws.
Mhm.
And I would say one of Jamie's flaws is that sometimes he's willing to help others, including his adversaries,
Mm.
at the expense of himself and people he loves. And
Ah.
sometimes he does the right thing to the point that it really causes himself and other people a lot of suffering,
Ooh. I
which
haven't gotten
is,
that far yet.
you haven't gotten that far, but you'll see it over and over again. Whereas if you want to think in astrological terms, Jamie's character and the actor who plays him,
Mhm.
Sam Hugan, uh, he has a lot of Mars in
Mhm.
his form because Mars is the
Mhm.
god, not just the god of war, but Mars from an esoteric perspective amplifies whatever's there. So he's got big muscles, he's got big heart, he's got big vision, he's got
Mhm.
big kindness, he's all those things. But when a man has a strong Jupiter in his form and in his heart, he is also generous and he's wise and he's patient and he's judicious. And Jamie is a very generous character, to be sure.
Mhm.
And he has a secondary sort of like Jupiter influence, which would be growth
Mhm.
hormone and prolactin,
Mhm.
but it's not his primary influence, which
Mhm.
is why sometimes he rushes into battle,
Mhm.
and he sort of he's got a passion. And so does Claire. That's what makes their relationship so interesting
Yes.
because Claire is stubborn in her own way and passionate and smart and
Mhm.
beautiful, and but they both can be passionate in a way that imperils them. And
Mhm.
if he was a primary like Jupiterian expression of the divine masculine, he would be more like a judge, like the elder uh, of the tribe.
Mhm.
Like if you've ever seen Dances with Wolves with Kevin Costner, when
Mhm.
he's living with the Lakota people, he enters the tent and they sit in a circle to discuss an issue, and
Mhm.
the chief actually has the least to say because he's big enough that he can let everybody else speak. And
Yes.
and even when the young guys, the young bucks want to force him to make a decision, he says, "I think we need to think about this a little bit more." You know? And
Yes.
and that's a different aspect of the
Mhm.
divine masculine.
Okay, let's go back to DHEA.
Yeah.
DHEA is also a hormone, and that would express itself in a different body type. And might that body type look like those two guys that are always talking about shagging women and being gross? Is it like that?
Are you talking about Murta?
Angus,
Oh, Angus and yeah.
the other guy.
Well, that's probably expressing in a functional way in them, but people who have a structural DHEA, they're
Hmm.
short and squat. So you can,
Hmm.
instead of having this triangle, they're like a rectangle.
Hmm. Hmm.
They're like really good wrestlers.
Okay. Yeah, what are the characteristics of DHEA in a person?
Well, people with DHEA have a lot of stamina. They
Hmm.
have quick and short bursts of power. That's why
Hmm.
they make good wrestlers.
Hmm. Interesting. Okay. All right. Should we talk about a person in, I don't know, culture that would be an expression of the divine feminine or close to it? Because
Yeah,
I'm thinking we could do Claire and Outlander, but I mean, we could do her. I feel like she has a lot. I feel like she has a lot of masculine traits,
she
though.
does.
Because,
Actually, yeah.
yeah, because the healer in her and the person that's so giving and loving toward, I'm only on episode 6. I've only seen her like amputate people and take care of everybody. I feel like that's an expression of the divine feminine, but I think she's a lot in her masculine energy, just direct and.
So, one of the things that I've observed is that in the heart of every male self is a feminine energy, and in the
Mhm.
heart of every female self is a masculine energy.
Yes.
And when you look w- when you think about, like, again, constellations and astrology, there are different qualities of the divine feminine.
Mhm.
There is like Virgoic energy from
Mhm.
Virgo, which is really like a gentle femininity and an eternal innocence, a purity, a kindness, a trust. But there's also a very strong femininity that can
Mhm.
also come up. Like if you look in the ancient matrilineal cultures, like look at the ancient Celtic and even pre-Celtic people, and you
Mhm.
look at a goddess like Brigid,
Mhm.
okay? Like she is the goddess of the home, the hearth, the family, animals, but also of war and weapons,
Mhm.
but also of poetry. It's the same thing with Athena in ancient Greek culture. So
Mhm.
there are these cultures that were able to recognize this quality of the bold and strong feminine. I think that's why the idea of these Amazonian women and
Mhm.
Wonder Woman
Yeah.
also represent an embodiment of a type of divine feminine.
Mhm.
Because, I mean, Wonder Woman was developed by, I think his name is Marston, Professor Marston from Harvard University, who developed the polygraph test. And
Fascinating.
yes, and he was actually this is like in the 20s and 30s. He felt very strongly driven to characterize this strong feminine. And so he created the character of Wonder Woman, and she has, what is her weapon? A lasso of truth. And
It's amazing.
there's nothing offensive. I mean, like in the sense of like she doesn't shoot bullets.
Yeah.
She has bracelets which can block bullets, but she uses a lasso of truth to restrain men who are living in an illusion of lies and to get them to live up to the truth of who they really are and to confess what they did in this sort of redemption, right? It's
Yeah.
like it, it's overcoming people through the power of redemption.
Yes.
I had a dream once where, as I was learning about this sort of the strong feminine within myself,
Mhm.
and I wandered into the someone's home, and there was a man, an older man who was sick, and he was on oxygen, and he like at a home hospital bed.
Mhm.
But what I understood is that he had, in the dream, he had kidnapped these girls and molested them and done terrible things. And there was a young girl that he had taken. And what she did is she took his oxygen tube and wrapped it around his neck and strangled him.
That's a dream that you.
Yes, the dream that I had. And it just showed me the strength of the powerful feminine. It's another aspect of that femininity because, Claire is not by any stretch of the imagination someone you could call butch.
No.
Because even though she's strong and she's willing to be in places
Hmm.
of danger like war, and
Hmm.
you'll see later on in the series, she can be really bold and she
Hmm.
speaks up to people of authority,
Hmm.
but she's also very feminine and beautiful.
Hmm. Hmm.
And when you see in the season where they go to France what she's wearing and how she's able to use her sensuality and her power, you see that there is a tenderness to her. And I mean, she has children and she cares for others. So I would say that she also is a very idealized version of a
Hmm.
type of strong feminine archetype,
Hmm.
a la these matrilineal societies of old, where you
Hmm.
had strong goddess figures.
Hmm. So within her heart, there is a masculine, and within Jamie's heart, there is a feminine. And it seems like it's both masculine and feminine traits being expressed through their personalities in a balanced, not 100% balanced, they're human, but in a balanced way that makes them kind of inspirational and
Yeah.
aspirational.
Yeah. And at the same time, like when you think about it may be just a question of expectations that women had in both times that Claire gets to live in. That because
Mm-hmm.
you meet her in like
When
1945, and she has flashbacks to the Second World War, and then you'll see her later in other seasons all the way up to the late 1960s, maybe early
no,
1970. But then she's also in the past, and
yeah.
so. The point is that she accepts that Jamie is a warrior and he's going to go off to war and he's going to keep
Mm-hmm.
fighting. And, she doesn't try to keep him from going and doing his
Mm-hmm.
masculine duty
Mm-hmm.
of defending and protecting.
Mm-hmm.
But she also, I think because she feels fulfilled enough that she has her own role to do in healing and
Mm-hmm.
caring and giving people hope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, should we choose a character that represents the mental judgment self?
Sure. Oh
You
gosh.
pick this person.
So the mental judge self, I would say that one of the best portrayals of the mental judge, which we can call the inner critic or what Carl Jung called the shadow,
Hmm.
I think one of the best representations I saw is in the movie Cloud Atlas. Did you ever see that? That was an epic movie I mean, it's like 3 hours long.
Okay.
It's so big that it took three directors to direct it. It was the Wachowskis who made The Matrix,
Oh, yes.
and Tom Tykwer, who made Run Lola Run, which was a big indie hit. Anyway, from
Yes. Yeah.
Germany. And I think what you would appreciate from your artistic side is that Tom Tykwer composed the score for the movie. But anyway, what I want to tell you is that there is a character. Okay, so first of all, this if you haven't seen Cloud Atlas out there, you
See
should
it.
watch this movie, see this movie.
Okay.
Because it basically depicts the life of I don't know, a dozen or so characters who
Mm-hmm.
keep coming into each other's lives over and over again across centuries and centuries. And sometimes they appear as men and sometimes they appear as women, and they have the same actors just in different outfits. And sometimes there are some characters who are always good, some who are always selfish and evil, and some that have mixed intentions depending on the particular lifetime. And they keep appearing over and over again in each other's lives, sometimes tangentially, sometimes directly. And they're all moving and working towards some higher sense of virtue. And there's a character that is played by the actor who played Agent Smith in The Matrix, and he also played the King of the Elves in Lord of the Rings. I'm just blanking on his name. But anyway, the point is, he plays this guy who's called like Old Georgie, and he's an externalized version of the mental judge self. Because
Mm,
there's a character who's played by Tom Hanks, and he wants to do good, and all of a sudden Old Georgie appears out of nowhere and behind his shoulder starts to express a lot of negative imagination,
mhm,
self-limiting talks. He says, "Oh, they're going to take advantage of you. You should just kill them now. You can get the upper hand." And he's
mhm.
like resisting Old Georgie, and then like he's constantly trying to overcome his mental judge self. So I think that that's a really good depiction of the mental judge self in an externalized way.
Okay, I'm gonna have to see this movie now. But the mental judge self is just feeding you a lot of fear and a lot of BS and a lot of you can't do it and it's not safe and the mental judge self wreaks a lot of havoc. Yes.
Yes, it does because it's fearful. And so, actually, another good way to see this in movies, any character that you see them in the first scene, you're like, oh, I cannot stand people like that. And I cannot stand that character.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, like two-thirds of the way through the movie, they revealed their trauma history and
Hmm.
what led them to this. And you're like, oh, shame on me. I totally judged them and misjudged them without understanding how they got here. And that is one of the
Yeah.
most important and first steps we take using the PSI
Hmm.
method is saying, okay, approaching the mental judge self not as an adversary or someone you need or a part of you that you need to get rid of,
Hmm.
but you try to befriend them. And the
Yeah.
way that you become friends with anyone is by being open to listening to them and getting
Mhm.
to know their story.
Yes, and you had me bring gifts to my mental judge self.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just be
Yeah.
really curious and compassionate. And my mental judge self has continued to build trust with me and reveal himself to me, and he wreaks less havoc.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we can talk about it now. We can talk about what he's afraid of.
And he trusts you as a friend. Yeah.
Mhm.
When I started to know my mental judge self, I started with a series of interviews. I was a reporter and I wanted to learn more, like I was doing a biopic. And when he told me about how beautiful his life was
Mm,
before and how free and just the colors and the sense of freedom, really
mhm,
understood why he felt imprisoned and
mm,
wasn't happy to be here.
mhm.
And then he started to express himself through a series of poems.
Wow.
And so I wrote the poems down. And it was such a beautiful way for me to get to know my mental judge self in that way.
Mhm,
Because then you start to realize that this part of you has so many gifts to
mhm,
offer. Its intelligence, its perceptions, its insight, its wit.
mhm,
And you realize, wow, a lot of what I thought was me was my mental judge.
mhm. Yes, tell me more about that process. Tell us more about that process of this idea of, personality and who we think is me versus, I don't know, who we really are.
Well, if you just ask anyone on the street, how many of you are there? And you say, there's only one of me. And so we have this idea of a monolithic personality. It's just like one big block of stone. It's me. It's the man in the mirror. It's the woman in the reflection.
Mhm.
But if you dig a little deeper, like you'll say, why did that thought pop in my head? It feels so random.
Mhm.
Or let's say you do something totally inconsiderate and you want to apologize to someone and you say, that was not me. You say that was not me. I'm so sorry. I don't know what got into me.
Yes.
What you should actually say is I don't know what came out of me. But
Yes. We have all had these moments, especially under
we
the influence of alcohol.
yes,
Yes.
right? Because alcohol lowers the barriers of it takes off the mask and it allows these different aspects of the subconscious personality to express themselves in a uninhibited or less inhibited way. So there's plenty of evidence that there's many parts of us, and just like we've been saying in the previous episode and this episode, if you've ever found yourself saying on the one hand and on the other hand and on the other hand, it's because you have different opinions because you have different selves, and each self has a different aspect and a different way of looking at it.
Mhm.
So one of your selves is going to look at it from a more masculine perspective, another from a feminine perspective, another from the mental judge or the shadow perspective,
Mhm.
another from the astral judge or this like inner child perspective. And they're all perspectives of who you are. And rather than trying to deny or avoid or dismiss one part of who you are, like the story of the prodigal son in the Gospels, you need to let back in. You can't be whole as a human family inside yourself until you let in all the parts that feel cast out and ashamed for how they behaved.
Mhm.
And to me, that's one of the meanings of the story of the prodigal son,
Mhm.
you know? And that's how we become whole is by letting all ourselves and all the aspects of the selves in.
So who are we?
Okay, so well,
I
we
know you're an
are we are divinity.
answer.
We are soul expressing its light and its qualities into these denser planes where there's conflict and challenge and black and white thinking. And we are here as agents of soul, of our soul, to resolve these conflicts within ourselves and within the world around us, to fill the world with light, to fill the world with love, and to resolve the dialectic, the black and white thinking. That's why the symbol of the triangle is so powerful. Because when we think in black and white terms and polarized terms of left and right and Republican and Democrat and man and woman and any other contrast, love and hate, we're existing on this line and we're not advancing. When you rise up and you get to the tip of the triangle, you have resolved the two opposites at the base with something unified at the tip. And you're pointing upwards to to go up, like an arrow that's being shot at the sun.
Yes. And you've told me that another way to look at this triangle is on the one side of the bottom is the divine masculine, on the other side is the divine feminine. And when they are in union and equally balanced, then there's spiritual androgyny.
That's right.
And that is the goal.
That is the goal. Because soul is androgynous. It has
Mhm.
a perfect blend of the masculine and the feminine. And
Mhm.
so, coming back to the character of Jamie, which is definitely written from a woman's perspective, it represents an
I-
ideal, well, it represents an idealized form of the divine masculine that has a very strong and harmonized feminine.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there's no slight in it. Diana Gabaldon's a woman, but she
Mhm.
has an incredible ability to see
Mhm.
things from a man's perspective, from a woman's perspective.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, she really inhabits her characters.
Mhm. But what would you say about her writing of Claire? Because I feel like I don't, you're a man watching this show. Do you feel like Claire's written from the perspective that of a woman, or you're like, oh, I
It's
don't know,
also
maybe
written to me from the perspective of the idealized emancipated woman, the
Mhm.
woman who is completely fulfilled. But again, It's idealized, and it is ideal because you know, even though Claire is fulfilled as a woman, she gets additional training beyond her nursing. She becomes a trauma surgeon. So she's a doctor, she's a surgeon. She had her training as a nurse. She has her training like as a medicine woman, as a healer with
Yes,
natural plants.
yes, yes.
But she sees herself as in a unit with Jamie.
Hmm.
She doesn't think, oh, I don't need him anymore
Hmm.
because I can earn money and I can do my own thing and I'm tough and
Hmm.
I've been through a lot.
Hmm.
And Jamie never thinks that he can live without Claire.
Hmm.
And so really this is a metaphor for what we call in alchemical terms the alchemical marriage. The
Hmm.
marriage of the masculine and the feminine is considered the spiritual marriage is what creates that androgyny. It's when part of your masculine and feminine sides become fused together and they operate in this perfect blend of harmony, but part
Hmm.
of you still retains its masculine and feminine.
Hmm.
You never lose those different parts of who you are. You just learn to fuse them and to create something that wasn't there before.
Hmm.
And so the marriage, so it's like Inception inside of Inception because Jamie is a man's man who has a really good balance of the feminine, and Claire is a woman's woman who has a
Yes,
really good expression of the masculine. And then there's another level of this because together they come as a man and a
yes,
woman to create a type of divine harmony
yes,
and a marriage, and not just a marriage, but a union of two people
yes.
who across space and time are
Mm-hmm.
there for each other and love each other. And even when they fight, even when they're stubborn, they always come back to each other because that bond has been created.
Yes. And I would say is that they are able to do this successfully. It sounds like I haven't listened to it all because they embody a good balance of the masculine and feminine. So they are able to co-create a relationship that has a good balance of the two. Because as we know, many marriages these days do not last for a long time. And I often see it's because each individual partner hasn't really done ah
The work.
the recovery. Yes, what were the remembering
Yes,
of and the work to bring the masculine and feminine together. I know that's very quick and very prescriptive, but is that part of what you think might be going on with challenges in relationships?
definitely. Well, first of all, I mean, as we're coming to an end today, every relationship we have with another person is the relationship we have within ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the female self of, let's say, a woman is falling in love with the female self of another partner. It could be a man, it could be a woman, it could be two men. It doesn't matter what the external
Mm-hmm.
sex is. The internal dynamics are the same no matter how the relationship is.
Mm-hmm.
And the female selves are who are initially attracted to each other and form that bond and experience that honeymoon
Mm-hmm.
period of being in love and feeling expansive and all the wonderful things that a true and nourishing and a new relationship can bring. But after this, what ends this honeymoon period is that the male cells in both the man and the woman and the mental judge cells start
Mm-hmm.
to fear that the other person in the relationship is going to take advantage of them. And so then that's where the power dynamics come in. The need to be right, the need to control,
Mm-hmm.
the jealousy is expressed, or a sense of superiority, or mocking or denigrating the other person. All of these are power dynamics that are primarily coming from the other parts of the personality who see love and the openness that love requires as weakness or vulnerability. And so they need to put up a defense through these different power dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
And really, the second the second person that a female self falls in love with is the male self of their
Mm.
partner. And what they're looking for in the male self of their partner is what they're not getting in the male self within their own personality. But what they end up getting from their partner is exactly what they're missing from their own male self. So
That.
if you have a client who says, who complains about their boyfriend or their husband or their girlfriend or their wife, you know exactly where to start with your PSI work because they have that same problem with that self within with the correlating self. And
Right.
that's where it's got to start.
Which is hysterical because it goes back to somebody saying, I don't know, right? Somebody comes in and like, my problem is it's them. And it's like, it's actually you.
Yeah.
But you've outed yourself because you do know what's annoying you about this other person is really you remembering, uncovering, discovering what's annoying about you, what you
Yeah.
got to work on.
So I want to leave with another funny reference to
Okay.
a pop culture. So Disney had this movie called Brother Bear, and this is a movie they made to honor like the indigenous peoples of Alaska.
Mhm.
And there's a teenage boy who's has a coming of age ceremony, and he discovers that his spirit animal is something, and he feels really disappointed by it, and he's very insensitive to like the value of life, and he gets turned into a bear. And then his other brother is hunting him because he thinks he's the bear that killed their older brother, who was very wise and kind. And the point is that there is a side character, which they're two moose, and they're kind of dumb. And they find themselves in a canyon with a big echo. And one of the moose says, "Shut up!" And then the echo says, "Shut up!" And he says, "No, you shut up!" And the echo says, "No, you shut up!" And like it fades away and then it cuts again. And it's like the sun is setting and he's still shouting and trying to win this match with somebody who he thinks is incredibly rude and inconsiderate. And he doesn't know it's his own echo and he's just arguing with himself. And that's exactly what you were saying is that
That's the
It,
perfect.
it's so perfect. You're just yelling at yourself and hearing the echo back.
Unreal. Unreal.
Yeah,
When you start to realize these things, you realize it's all so clear.
yeah,
It's really all, it can be so clear.
yeah. What also is we'll make reference to this several times is the computer animated movie called How to Train Your Dragon, which is great because early on in at some point in the film, the main character, so there are these Vikings living on this island. They're constantly being attacked by dragons. Okay, this is relevant to mental judge cells.
Okay.
They're constantly being attacked by these dragons, and their response is to attack the dragons back.
Mhm.
And they're constantly at war with these dragons. The son of the chief is a scrawny little guy, and he's a real misfit, but he's very brainy. And he wants to try to kill a dragon to prove that he's as tough and he belongs in this uber masculine society with everyone else. And he ends up injuring the most dangerous dragon of all. And he discovers that the dragons are not aggressive, that they're only doing what they're doing because there's an even bigger dragon that is terrorizing all the other types of dragons. And they have to serve this other dragon and bring it food, or that dragon's going to hurt them. And so, like, he runs out at one point and he says, "Everything we thought about the dragons was wrong." And he realized that when they befriended the dragons and the humans teamed up to resolve the bigger problem that they both suffered from. And by the end of the film, their society is completely transformed because there's no more conflict. and it's all harmony, and the humans and the dragons work together. In many mythologies and in many stories, I think the dragon represents the mental judge self. And in the Western mythology of the dragon who is keeping the princess prisoner in the
Mhm.
tall tower, that's the
Mhm.
female self who's being prevented from expressing
Mhm.
her femininity into the world. And
Mhm.
the knight in shining armor who rescues the princess is not a sexist tale. It's a spiritual allegory for the need of the male self to step up and to
Mhm.
protect the female self from forces that prevent her from expressing her beauty and goodness in the world. We need more of the feminine energy in this world.
Yes.
But the point is, when you realize that the dragon is not your real enemy and that and you turn it into a friend, then it becomes your ally and your strength.
How to Tame Your Dragon.
Yeah,
That's it.
and
How to
you're
Tame Your Dragon. If you want to know more about the mental judge self, just remember how to train your dragon. When there's a dragon running in your mind, it's that energy. It's the, hi, I see you're here, and I know that you have a story that maybe I don't know. So why don't you sit down and I'll make you a cup of tea and why don't you tell me about it?
exactly. Yeah, and then all of a sudden the dragon's fire. Sorry, I'm not going to let you go.
No, the
The
dragon.
dragon's fire is not used for destruction, but it's used to heat the communal bakery.
Yes,
Yes,
yes. To have all the tea kettles going so everybody can have
yes,
a
and to
nice
bake
warm
the
cup of
bread.
tea.
Yes, and all that. It can all be used for good. There's nothing bad in the universe. There's only things that are being misused or misdirected away from the light.
Mhm.
Okay, much love to
That
you,
was
my
so
dear
great.
Bianca.
That was
And
so great. We're going to talk more about relationships because when you started breaking that down, I know that there's a lot of people out there that would love to hear more about how these different parts of selves manifest in our relationships. So,
to be continued.
TBD, to be continued,
Okay,
to be determined. We are there.
bye bye for now.
Bye.